Joining me now to talk about this is one of the members of the Judiciary Committee who will be in that hearing tomorrow, Republican Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin, who also helped lead the Clinton impeachment in the House. Congressman Sensenbrenner, thanks so much for joining us. I want to begin with this new report. It says this, quote, "The president placed his own personal and political interests above the national interests of the United States, sought to undermine the integrity of the U.S. presidential election process, and endangered U.S. national security," unquote. Now, I know you do not think that President Trump asking President Zelensky to investigate the Bidens was out of bounds. Is there anything in the report change your mind?
Well, I got the report an hour ago. It's over 300 pages long, and I do speed read, but not quite that fast. You know, let me say that I don't think the president has committed an impeachable offense. No president should be above the law, but they shouldn't be below the law either. And what Trump said to President Zelensky was, "Can you do me a favor?" Now, if that is an impeachable offense, then what about then Vice President Biden saying, "I'm holding up $1 billion of aid unless you fire the prosecutor in 6 hours," and bragging about it? The problem, I think, is that this is a moving target, and there are a lot of people, including a lot of my colleagues, who have hated Trump from the beginning. You do not impeach a president because of policy differences or because you hate him and didn't vote for him and were sorry that he won. There has to be something more serious than that. And telling the president of Ukraine, "Will you do me a favor," is not the serious thing that the framers thought it should be.
The Biden thing, I don't want to get off on a path here, but the Biden thing, it was obviously something that even Republicans, the International Monetary Bank, others were calling for, the International Monetary Fund, or others were calling for that prosecutor to be fired.
That may very well be true, Jake, but not the way that Biden framed it when he came back here and bragged about it. So now, at least we didn't stop the country for a couple of years having an impeachment inquiry on him. The Intelligence Committee is vital to our national security, and they spent the last 3 months not doing the oversight of intelligence that we need, but going on an impeachment witch hunt.
So, Congressman,
it's as simple as that.
So you talked about how you don't think that phone call demonstrates anything wrong because the president phrased it as "do me a favor." Democrats in the report argue that the call between Trump and Zelensky was just a, quote, "dramatic crescendo" within a months-long campaign driven by President Trump, that for months there had been this effort involving President Trump and multiple senior officials, and it involved also President Trump withholding a visit to the Oval Office for President Zelensky, and of course that $391 million of security aid that was ultimately released after the whistleblower came through.
Well, neither Trump nor Zelensky said that there was a quid pro quo involved, number one. Zelensky wasn't even aware at the time that the aid was being held up. And on September 11th, which was about 6 weeks after the call, the aid was released and Ukraine got the money.
After the whistleblower came forward.
Well, it's after the whistleblower came forward, but we also ought to realize that Ukraine is probably the most corrupt country in Europe and one in the world. And I think we all ought to be assured that when we do release foreign aid to any other country, that money is being used for the purpose for which it was sent and not ending up in somebody's pocket or Swiss bank account.
So I guess one of the other points that the Democrats are trying to make here is that this is setting a precedent, and that if Republicans allow this to be deemed acceptable, then in the future a President Elizabeth Warren could press China to investigate Jared Kushner's family and how they promoted investor visas in that country, or President Buttigieg could ask Azerbaijan to look into the Trump Tower deal there. There are all sorts of allegations of corruption. That would be okay with you for a Democratic president to ask a foreign country to do them a favor and look into a political rival?
Well, we have mutual legal assistance treaties with most countries. So if there is a violation of U.S. law where there's evidence in a foreign country, the MLAT ends up requiring the foreign country to cooperate with us. But this goes much deeper than that. It goes back to the way the framers set up our government. and that is that the executive should not be dependent upon having a majority in the Parliament or in the Congress in our case. They develop separation of powers, and Adam Schiff and his crowd, have completely thrown separation of powers in the wastebasket. So if we ever, in the future, have a president of one party and a majority in the House and another party, the Congress isn't going to repeat this mistake, not do the people's business, and be involved in a 2 or a 4 year long witch hunt to try to boot the president who is duly elected by the American people out of office. So that's what we're seeing here.
I want to play for our viewers your opening statement before the House Judiciary Committee in 1998. Here you are talking about President Clinton.
He has not owned up to the false testimony, the stonewalling, the obstructing. He has used legal hair-splitting and redefinition of words to perpetuate those lies. The president lied, obstructed, and abused power.
I think a lot of people will see that clip and think, yeah, you get offended when Democrats abuse power, but you don't get offended when Republicans abuse power.
There is a big difference. Kenneth Starr, who is an independent investigator, which Adam Schiff is not, ended up doing a lengthy investigation, sent us 36 boxes worth of evidence, and said that Clinton lied both in a civil deposition and in grand jury testimony under oath. That's the big difference. Whatever Trump did or didn't do on that phone call was not under oath. It was not in a judicial proceeding where the courts have to have the truth in order to administer justice. And that's why witnesses in any judicial proceeding are put under oath. Big difference between the two. Starr found that Clinton lied under oath in both the civil and grand jury proceedings. Nobody has said that Donald Trump has lied under oath.
Well, I mean, we don't have time to get into all the differences, but obviously Attorney General Janet Reno had the intellectual integrity to let Ken Starr be an independent counsel and investigate this, whereas Attorney General Bill Barr decided there was nothing to look at here. Republican Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin, thank you so much. Good luck to you in retirement.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm not running again, so I'm not worried about anybody saying they're never going to vote for me again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
she was once looked at as a Democrat.